So, greetings, class. My name is Professor Rude. You can call me Jordan. That's fine with me. Jordan is my first name. If that's too informal for you, you can call me Professor Rude, Mr. Rude. That's fine too. Those are also my names. So, I wanted to do a quick video to go over the syllabus with you. It's something we would do on the first day of class if we were in person. And I want to just point out some highlights from the syllabus. Don't worry, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you and bore you. But welcome to Human Sexuality, Psych B30. I do like to start off my syllabus with a quote. So here's a quote from Alfred Kinsey, who we'll talk about later in class, who is a important, notable figure in the field of sex research, especially in contemporary, more scientific forms of behavioral sex research. So here's a quote from him. He says, "There's a tendency to consider anything in human behavior that is unusual, not well known, or not well understood as neurotic, psychopathic, immature, perverse, or the expression of some other sort of psychological disturbance." So what he's talking about there is kind of what we think of as, quote unquote, normal types of behavior. And this is an issue for really all of psychology. What do we mean by normal? Well, often we mean typical, like within this culture, here's how people usually behave. So McKinsey is saying that applies to sex research because maybe what is typical behavior for you is not typical for your neighbor and so on. So I kind of like this quote because I want you to keep an open mind going into this class. And also keep in mind that I'm not trying to convince you of your values centered around the topic of sex. That's not what I think is appropriate for this class. Now, I do have a couple things that I'm adamant about, which we'll talk about, but really this is about how do the behavioral sciences study a topic as sex, as it is still, to varying degrees, taboo within our culture. So that's what this course is going to be all about, right? Looking at human sexuality and different angles, different perspectives, and different aspects of human sexuality. It's more complex as you might think. Okay, but we'll get to all that as the semester goes on. Like I said, my name is Jordan Rude. The best way to contact me is through my email. So it's really easy to remember. It's just jrude@bakersfieldcollege.edu. And when you email me, what I do want you to do is, well, of course, your name will be on there. Use the school ID, or school email rather, and tell me what class you're in, because I have so many sections of every class that I'm teaching. It'll be easier for me to track down probably answers to your questions if I have to look up information about you. So always tell me what class you're in and what section you're in. That'd be really helpful. All right, now moving on. This class is completely asynchronous. I think the language, if they haven't changed it, is it's asynchronous or online flexible. Basically what that means is that there's no mandatory time where you'll have to meet up with me on Zoom for lectures. Given my life circumstances right now, since we're all working from home, it's not conducive for that type of learning environment. But what I will do is I've already made them, most of them. I'm making videos, lecture videos for every single chapter, so you can watch the lecture videos. So it's like I'll be there, but you can just pause me and rewind me and fast forward me as you see fit, right? So I'll supply those videos for you, and assignments, of course, attached to the content that we're covering. Now, although there won't be a time where it's mandatory for you to meet on Zoom for a lecture, I will hold office hours every week, and I'm still pinning that down between all my classes to make sure I give each class enough time, but I will post those office hours to Canvas as soon as I figure out the schedule. What I'm thinking, though, is that there'll be one time in the morning and there'll be one time in the evening. So if, depending on your schedule, what works best for you, you can hop onto one of those office hours. But I'll post that to Canvas, and I'll show you Canvas in a second. Okay, so the course description, I'm going to skip a little bit of this because it's really redundant. If I look at the course description and then the learning objectives, they're kind of the same thing. So I'm going to skip down to the learning objectives here. So in this class, like it says, we're going to do, when you leave this class, you should be able to demonstrate an understanding of the biopsychosocial aspects of human sexuality. So if you break that word down, biopsychosocial, right? So of course we'll look at biology. We'll talk about, things like the nervous system, for example, and other forms of human anatomy as they relate to human sexuality, as you might imagine. And we'll talk about the psychological, things like attitudes and beliefs and expectations, things like that. And they'll talk about the sociological too, so kind of larger systems of frameworks within our society. So the biopsychosocial. So okay, so this class is a little more complex than you might have imagined, right? And it might include looking at different cultures and media, things like that, and how they affect or related to human sexuality. A little bit more detail going into the bio. We'll look at the human sexual response cycle. We'll talk about atypical types of sexual behavior, and then we'll talk about gender roles and the relationship between societal standards, expectations, and gender. That'll be interesting too. And that goes for sexual orientation as well. And then the last learning objective. So these are like the three things we have to talk about in this course, right? The third one is, when you leave this course, you should be able to discriminate between sexual disorders and infections, and the prevention and treatment of those, right? So there we go. So it's a little bit of health in there as well. The course materials. So you need to have access to the book Human Sexuality, written by Hawk, and it's published by Pearson Revel. And so I'll show you Pearson Revel in a sec. It's an ebook. You can buy access to the ebooks. If you go from the bookstore, it's probably you're going to get an access code for the ebook. If you find the only thing about this class is you do have to have that access code. It's the only way I can do kind of the quizzes for the class. So you got to have the access code. There is a link in there, like when you go to first put in your access code, you can opt to buy a paper copy. So if you also want a paper copy, they sell it to you like really cheap. Last time I think it was only $10. So if you want a paper copy, you can order it then when you go to access Revel for the first time. You can buy the book then if you really want them to send you a paper copy, right? Okay, so there we go. So get the book, and I'll show you that in a sec. The next thing in the syllabus, if you are a student who goes through DSPS on campus, so that's if you need that's disabled students programs and services. If you need any types of accommodation, just let me know that you're working with DSPS as soon as you can. And typically, what we do in this type of environment, since we're online, the best I can do from my end is kind of give you more time on exams if that's part of your accommodation plan. But you have to have a plan through DSPS. I can't just do that for you. So if you think you might be able to use the disabled students programs and services, talk to them and then let me know, right? Because they'll give you paperwork to give to me. You can just email it to me, and then I can get you all set up. But do talk to them because sometimes they get inundated, and it might take a while for them to say like test you and then approve your accommodation. So do that as soon as you can, even if you think you might be able to use their services. And of course, I'll work with you. All right. Now these I didn't provide links to these in the syllabus in this like Word document because these are all on my Canvas page as well. But these are all academic support services, all information that might be useful for you if you run into any type of troubleshooting issues, whether it has to do with software, your computer, Canvas, or if it's related to the college itself. So I put all these as links within our Canvas page. I'll show you those in a sec. Here's a public safety information. We're online, so we're not on campus. When we're on campus, I always tell my students to put this number into your cell phone. That way, if you need security at BC, you can contact them quickly. Go ahead and put in your phone anyway, just in case you need to contact somebody at BC in campus security. And there's a link here. This is also on my Canvas page. This one still shows up as a link. If you just want to keep up to date on everything that's going on with like the construction at BC. It's not as big of a deal since most of us are not going to campus this semester. But if you want to know what's going on there, all the building taking place, you can check that out at that website. Okay, so course policy stuff. Now, in this class for human sexuality, it is important that you show respect for others. I'm lucky. I consider myself very lucky in the content that I get to teach. But often it leads people to sometimes have disagreements about issues. And in this class is a taboo issue for a lot of people, so there could be a lot of agreement or disagreement. And there could also be, in the past, there's been a couple instances where people have said some kind of like insensitive things to other people, like with the intent to hurt their feelings, right? And that's what I want to avoid in this class. It's one thing to like disagree. I want that to happen. I want there to be discussion. Um, you can disagree with somebody passionately, but you have to do it in a respectful manner, right? After all, that's what we're here to do, is to learn from each other. So if you do disagree, speak up. Let's have a conversation, and that's a good thing. Just do so in a respectful way. We don't have face-to-face conversations in this class since everything is asynchronous. So this will basically be me looking through discussion boards, um, and seeing how it is that you're talking to each other and communicating with each other that way. If something happens, let me know. If I miss it for some reason, please do let me know. So be respectful. I'm not going to try to tell you what to believe ever in this class. I'm just going to present to you different ways of thinking, and you can take those ideas or not. But I think it's good to be exposed to them. And if you disagree, just do so in a respectful way. This gets back to like the netiquette idea too. So it's like having network etiquette, and this idea essentially means what I was just talking about. Like, I encourage you to disagree with your classmates. Just do so in a respectful way. All right, a little more about course policy. So I am an ally of the LGBTQ plus community, and I mean, I already was, but I've officially gone through training, and now it means I'm a safe zone ally for California community colleges. What that essentially means is that if you're somebody who wants to talk to somebody about resources or just wants someone to listen, and you're from the LGBTQ plus community, I'm one of those people. I'm good at listening, and I have lots of resources for you. So if you have questions about what it means to be an ally, or if you have questions about the LGBTQ plus community, you can talk to me. You can drop me an email. We can set up a Zoom meeting. I'm here for you. That's what that means. And I'm here for all of you. I'm here for everyone. So contact me if you need me. All right. So now we're getting into classwork types of issues. And I do have a late work policy for this class. It's mainly for you. It's mainly to keep you on track because it requires a lot of self-discipline to be successful in a class that's completely online. And I'm lenient to an extent when it comes to late work policies. So I wrote this out. I was writing this syllabus. I thought, this makes sense to me. I can't tell if this makes sense to everyone else, so I better make a video to explain it. But the basic idea is that all assignments that are posted on Canvas will have due dates attached, and of course they're due by that date. I will take late work from you for half credit up until that material that we've covered has been, you've been tested on it. So let's say the first, if I'm not wrong about this in this class, I think it's like the first 3 chapters that are on exam 1. So let's say the exam 1 materials, you're a week late turning those in. I'll still give you half credit as long as we haven't passed the exam 1 date. So if we pass exam 1 and you didn't turn any of those materials in, it's too late. But at that point, you've had like 3 weeks to do it. So it's rarely an issue, but I wanted to put it out there. That's my policy on late work. I will take it if we haven't been tested on it yet. I'll take it for partial credit. And just communicate with me. If something comes up, just let me know, and I can work with you on those dates. All right, now the drop policy. So the only way I can tell if you're involved in the class is if you're turning your work in, right? So if you're not turning your work in, and when we get to the date where I'm supposed to drop all inactive students, and maybe you missed all the due dates before all the material in the first exam, you just didn't do any of it, but you don't want to be dropped from the class, you better let me know. You gotta let me know, because I'll go in and drop you out. I'm doing it for you because I don't want you to get an F, right? If I drop you then before the drop date, then you won't get that F. You might get a W. It's after the W date, but I'm trying to help you out there. But you gotta talk to me. So if you missed a bunch of assignments but you don't want to be dropped from the class, let me know, right? Because I will go in Typically what I'll do is after each exam, I'll go look and say, who hasn't turned anything in? Okay, I'm going to drop them from the class. All right, but just communicate with me. I'll work with you on that. So let's get into the meat of the class. This is probably what you want to know. How much work is there to do? Right? So this course, it sounds strange to say this, but this course is easy. This is a simple course. In all honesty, um, it's easy from my perspective because it's all about sex, and I can just throw the topic out there, and everybody's interested and everybody listens, right? So that's easy. Um, but it's like any other course. You just do the work, and you're going to do fine in here. Some of the things in this course, I hope that you already know about human sexuality, and there's definitely going to be things that you don't know, but I don't think they're going to be so complex and complicated that you'll have difficulty remembering them. Um, that being said, just do the work and you'll be fine. So here's the work. Every chapter that we go over will have a quiz attached to it. The quizzes are multiple choice, 1 point each. So there's 10 questions worth 1 point each. They're all multiple choice, and you get like one shot at getting the answer correct. It's not a killer assignment, and I get it. We're online. You're probably going to be looking at your book, maybe even looking at Google, that kind of thing. So I get it. Just make sure that you do them. Don't forget to not do these quizzes. I expect you to get full points on these quizzes. It's not difficult stuff. So there's a quiz per chapter, and then if I skip the exam for a sec, there's also a discussion per chapter. So every chapter you have a quiz discussion, like clockwork, right? Quiz discussion. And the discussions, I'm really trying to find interesting things for you guys to reflect upon. So I'll either show you some kind of video or give you something to read and say, like, what are your thoughts on this? Or give you something to do. Some of them I have like surveys for you to take. And you get your results, and I'll ask you to tell me what you think about the results, right? If it's super personal, then I won't have you reply to your classmates. But if it's not super personal, then then I want you to reply to your classmates in a typical discussion forum type of assignment. But I promise you, I'm trying to make them interesting things for you to read. Right? I'm not going to throw something in there just for the sake of having a discussion. But I've got a discussion for every chapter now, and I think they'll give you things to think about. I think you'll enjoy thinking about them. All right, so that's every chapter. Every chapter, quiz, discussion. And then we'll get to exams and writing assignments. The exams are based on materials from the class. I'm going to show, put lots of videos up, lecture videos, but also supplemental videos that I want you to watch. And anything I put up on Canvas and anything in your textbook is up for grabs on the exams. But focus, your attention heavily on what is in the lecture videos. Right? I always get that question from students. Where should I focus my energy and time to do well in this exam? And if it's in the lecture video, it'll be on the exam. Like, I'm not going to talk about stuff and then not assess you on it, right? So make sure that you do watch the lecture videos. Those will help you a lot to prepare for the exams. Okay, let's move on. Oh, there's 2 writing assignments. So 2 writing assignments in the class. The first is an article summary. It's not a super exciting assignment, and I get that, but why I use it is for a couple of reasons. And the first is that I want you to have practice finding scientific articles on the topic of human sexuality. So using library databases, finding the articles, searching through a few options of articles and finding the best one for you to write a summary about. It's not a long paper, it shouldn't be a long paper. It really is just a summary of the article that you found. It'll also allow you to practice a little bit of APA style writing. That way, when you get to the second paper, you've already had some practice at it. So think of the first writing assignment, the article summary, as practice for the second, right? Where you have to incorporate more than one article into your paper. So it's like small paper, slightly bigger paper. So the second paper is something called the personal sexual philosophy paper. And it's subjective, but you have to bring in outside articles to tell me about your personal sexual philosophy. I'm guessing that none of you have ever written a paper like this, or some of you probably never even thought about your personal sexual philosophy, right? I have you guys do this assignment because imagine in the real world, where maybe you've had a sexual encounter, then afterwards you go, man, I wish I hadn't done that, right? Or things hadn't turned out that way. How did I get here? I wish I had a personal sexual philosophy beforehand in place that I could kind of, you know, uh, let that guide my behaviors, right? So that's what I want you to write. So as you're going through the course, through the chapters, think to yourself, okay, how does this relate to me? That's what I want you to think about. That'll prepare you for your paper, right? You make little notes here and there, like, ooh, maybe save this idea for my paper. This resonates with me, right? That kind of thing. So you have the article summary, personal sexual philosophy paper, and then if you want to see those kind of broken down, here's what the class looks like, right? 4 exams, pretty simple stuff. Article summary paper, personal sexual philosophy paper, and then a quiz and a discussion per chapter. And there's 15 chapters, right? So 15 quizzes, 15 discussions, and then 2 papers, 4 exams. So like nothing major. In this case, it's like a typical college course. So here's the tentative course schedule for the class, and I'll show you the modules in Canvas in a sec, and I think it'll make more sense. But it basically looks like this. So I'll have the introduction, the syllabus. Here, this is the syllabus video here. You're already watching it. And then chapter 1, studying human sexuality. It's like how do scientists study human sexuality? That's what that chapter is all about. So there'll be a quiz for chapter 1 and a discussion assignment for you to write about. There you go. This one, by the way, the first one involves watching a clip, like a video clip, and it's a little lengthy. I think it's like half an hour long. So just to let you know, if you're waiting till like the last minute to do it, you want to watch this half an hour clip first. I think you'll enjoy the clip. Anyway, I know it's kind of long, a half an hour, but most of my students have a lot to say about it, so you can check out that clip. And then you'll have chapter 2. I'm going to post both of these, the first 2 chapters right away, so if you want to work ahead, you can. And chapter 2 about sexual anatomy also has video lectures and a quiz and a discussion for you to complete. Okay, and this is a tentative schedule because things might change, right? Stuff changes. If something goes wrong technically, then we might have to move the schedule around, or I don't know. It's happened in the past where I just get a bunch of emails from students that are like, we want to know more about this. I'm like, okay. So we might spend more time on one topic, and that means we got to kind of move things around. But we'll do that, right? We're flexible. Okay, so you can see in here basically how it works is every week you have something due. I gave you a little break for the first 2 weeks. There's nothing due then because there's always issues of getting access to the text and the materials and all that. So February 1st is when you have your first assignments due, and they have to do with chapter 1 and 2. So really what it is just 2 quizzes, 2 discussions you have to do by then. And that's basically what this is here on the right. The assignment due dates, it's like you have a week to do everything that week. And then I have the article summary paper in there, not due until March 8th. And then the personal sexual philosophy paper is not due until May 3rd. So you have a lot of time to think about that. And I mean, look at these chapters if you're wondering what the class is about. We got sexual aggression, violence, gender, sexual orientation, paraphilia, sexual problems and solutions, STIs and STDs, contraception, conception, pregnancy and birth, the sexual marketplace, sexual behaviors, intimate relationships, physiology of sexual response, sexual anatomy, and how to study human sexuality. Look at all that cool, interesting stuff. And then the last thing here I have, whoops, come back here. Oh, it's important dates for the semester. So don't forget, we have some holidays in here. We've got spring break, and I think it's only fair to observe spring break. I won't give you any work to do that week. I have a true spring break. Okay, so that's the syllabus in a nutshell. Hit me up if you have questions. Last little thing, I just want to show you what the course looks like. So I'm going to share my screen again one more time, and so that we can go into the human sexuality class. Look how fresh this is. I haven't even published it yet. I'll do that within the hour. But you're going to click within our human sexuality course. This is the one here. It's pretty easy to find. Human sexuality. It's got these 2 brains humping each other. Appropriate. All right, so click on that. And then I'm going to go to student view so you don't see all my secret behind the scenes shenanigans that are going on. All right, so this is what the class looks like. I don't have a pretty home page yet. It just goes right to these modules when you come into the class. But my students tell me that's how they like it, so that's why it looks like this. So it's real basic stuff. You got the syllabus here right at the top under course materials or class materials. You got this video of me breaking down the syllabus, information about registering with Pearson, information about BC, the discussion grading rubric. This is basically what I use to grade discussion posts. So you can check that out. Actually, let's look at it for a sec. So when you're doing a discussion assignment, and I ask you to write something, thoughtful, this is what I'm looking for, right? So in your initial posts, a good post has well-developed discussion, fully addresses, all the aspects of the topic, and then on your follow-ups, you're actually demonstrating an analysis of somebody else's posts. You're extending the meaningful discussion in some way. So it's not just like, oh, me too, cool. That's not what I'm looking for in a reply to a post. I want you to actually reply to somebody. Okay, so that's up there for you too, and I'll usually have those attached to all the discussion assignments just to give you a reminder. And then here's what else we have here for you. So we got the class materials. We'll minimize that for a sec. And then we've got student resources. This is just a big list. It's very general. It's not specific to human sexuality, just for as a BC student. So if you need if you issues with Canvas, there's a few videos there. And then we've got, what else we have? Info about how to get access to the Microsoft Suite through BC. If you haven't done that yet, by the way, just by virtue of being a BC student, you have free access to like Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all that. So if you haven't, downloaded that yet, then go here and do it. There's information about Zoom. There's information about document scanning. Probably won't need that for this class, but if you need it for another class, here you go. And then all this BC information here. So the tutoring center, student services, online support, counseling, advising, the bookstore, DSPS, veteran services, etc. If there's something else you'd like to see added here, let me know. This is how all this got here, as other students said. I wish you had a quick link to this. Here you go, or I'll create it for you. All right, so that's student resource information, kind of general, and this will always be something pertinent to our class itself. And now as you move down, this is what the chapters will look like. Every chapter will look something like this. Some chapters have more information than others. And I'll give you my PowerPoint slides. So most of the lecture videos really entail me talking over my PowerPoints. Right? I know that's not super exciting. I wish that we were face to face as well. But I think that's the best we could do for now. So I've got my PowerPoints there if you just want to see the slides. You don't have to, but some people like to print them out and take their notes on them. So if that's what you want to do, here are the slides for you. So we have the intro and then studying sexuality. The intro one, go ahead and check that one out. That's kind of like an intro to the class. There's no assignment attached to it. It's a little bit shorter than all the others. And then you get into studying human sexuality. This is chapter 1, right? And here's the video lecture for that. Wait, what is this? Hold on a second. Oh, this is the PowerPoint. Okay, I was confused for a second. What am I looking at here? Okay, so that's the PowerPoint, and then we have my video lecture here. So if you want to watch that, it's a link to YouTube, so you can watch my video lecture. Oh, I see what it did. Yeah. So PowerPoints for intro, the PowerPoints for studying human sexuality. We have the video for the intro, and the video for studying human sexuality. Okay, I'm back on board now. So here are the two videos, and then here's the discussion assignment. And then to take your quizzes, you're going to go over here to Pearson Revel, and you're going to click on Pearson Revel, and you want to do this anyway before you really get into the class, because you want to put in your access codes, or sign in here so that you have access to the textbook and the quizzes, because the quizzes are all here in Pearson Revel. They're not going to show up in the modules, which is unfortunate. But so you have to remind yourself to not forget to do these, right? The discussions will show up in the to-do list, but the quizzes won't. But they're all in here in Pearson Revel. So just think, okay, I did a chapter, there's a quiz attached, and there's a discussion attached, and do both those things. There's always going to be a discussion and a quiz for every chapter. So, okay, here's our first chapter in a nutshell. And then let's check out the second chapter. There's a lot more going on here in this module. So I got my sexual anatomy notes, and then I broke down this video lecture into 2 parts. We talk about the male sexual anatomy first, and then female. And then I have all these supplemental videos, which I thought you would find really interesting and kind of reinforce the information that we go over. So like this one, for example, just by the title alone, I bet you're going to want to watch it. But it took 2,000 years to find the clitoris. What's that about, right? Go check that out. Videos about the penis, how to check your testicles for cancer, the vulva, breast exams, vaginal exams, right? How to check yourself, right? There's a video about the menstrual cycle here. There's a little pamphlet about Kegels. So I like to put information up here, really that's just for you, for your own benefit as well. As well as like, something I'm going to throw on an exam. Sometimes I just think you would really think this video was cool, and I'll just put it here. And those tend to be shorter. Video lectures are a little lengthy, but these videos are all much shorter than my lectures, me talking. And you can see here's discussion number 2, and then I've got a quiz set up for chapter 2 as well, and you'll find that over here in Pearson Revel. So that's what the class is going to look like in a nutshell. You're going to work through one of these modules per week. So every week a new one of these modules will pop up, and just work your way through it. Watch the video lecture, watch the supplemental videos, read the chapter, take the quiz, do the discussion. You do all that, you're going to be gold. You're going to do great in this class. There's not much to it, right? Go figure. Put the effort in, you'll do well. And then I just put this together. I need to find some way to make this look cool, but students often ask me in this class about recommended reading. They're like, I want to read more about human sexuality. So I just threw together some of the books that I've read that I really enjoyed. All right, and here's just links. I think most of these go like to Amazon if you want to buy it. But here's a bunch of different books about human sexuality that are full of good information. Okay, so that's what our class looks like in a nutshell. And if you have questions about anything regarding the class, feel free to say hello and go check out our campus page and kind of peruse, look around, and familiarize yourself with the Canvas environment. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.